The last 2 years have been full of mixed emotions for today's guest. Rebecca Wilcox's mum, Dame Esther Rantzen, was diagnosed with terminal cancer back in 2023. And since then, we've been following her campaign to make assisted dying legal. And Rebecca, who is pivotal and has continued to be a supporter of that campaign, is here with us now. Rebecca Wilcox, ladies and gentlemen. Obvious place to start. How's mum doing today?
So I get in trouble because I'm overly honest. I share everything. I will tell you absolutely everything about how I am, down to my latest bowel movement, should you so wish. And so I mustn't tell you what she's up to because she's private, as she should be. What she has said to me to say is she loves you and she sends her love and she's coping.
Oh, thank you. If you're watching, we're waving to you now. Thanks for joining us, Esther. But how is it for you? Because it's never easy when you have a loved one who has a terminal diagnosis. I think just about all of us have been through it at some point in our lives. And it's the family members who also have to deal with something that's really difficult. So how are you doing today?
Well, it's everybody who's been through this and, you know, 1 in 2 of us will have cancer at some point, so it's very likely you have a loved one, a friend, someone that you adore go through this. And it's an impossible situation watching someone wanting to be able to do something, endlessly, overly offering. I think I'm slightly irritating. Cup of tea, glass of water, another cushion. What can I do? What can I do? Buy something from M&S, just quickly go. And, and she just sends me off to do things. So it's really hard to watch someone go through that and not be able to help, which is why being part of the campaign for assisted dying has been so helpful, because it's felt like a proactive thing that I can help her with. It will genuinely help other people out there because it's just for people with a terminal diagnosis like mum. It's not for any other reason. And it's about compassion and care, which is what mum is. Mum, at her core, is compassion, care, and then also safeguarding, which again...
Yeah, I mean, she's campaigned all her life, hasn't she? Yes. So it is quite incredible that even that, you know, probably there's days when she's struggling now, she's still managing to get involved in what I think is a very, very important discussion.
Yes.
Where are you with it now? Because there's been a couple of amendments. I mean, it's going through, isn't it? But there's been a couple of tweaks. Are you still sort of on board with it?
Oh, very much so. May 16th, I may have got that wrong. I have children and don't sleep. We have the second reading and we've had the committee stage, which has been difficult and detailed and brilliant. Many amendments have happened. You go through the bill line by line. It should be difficult. It shouldn't be easy to make laws in this country. If it was, that would be terrifying. So it's been great that Kim, who has championed this, Kim Leadbeater, yes, she's a wonderful woman, and she has been really good at listening to all the experts, listening to the people that have fears and concerns, and adjusting and amending the bill so that it's even safer and even stronger.
And for anyone watching who isn't familiar with the kind of detail, what is the sort of basis of the bill that you're trying to sort of get through? Explain to them who is eligible for it.
Well, it's a very narrow criteria.
Yeah.
It's terminally ill adults, so there's no worry about children, there's no worry about mental health, depression. It's not that sort of bill. It reflects Oregon, which has been around since 1997 and has not changed, has kept the same narrow parameters. When a bill is set up to only allow people with a terminal diagnosis, it doesn't open up to everybody else. It doesn't. The slippery slope is a myth in this case.
And the people monitoring this, in the original proposal,
yes,
your case would go before a High Court judge, but that's changed now, hasn't it?
That has changed, and actually it's strengthened it to change it. So now they're going to take it before a multidisciplinary clinician panel, which basically means a table like this full of doctors who are trained to look out for coercive control and coercion, because that's what they do day to day in hospital anyway. And it reflects 2 panels that already exist, one that's for human tissue donation, live human tissue, so that's skin, kidney, liver, so hopefully the organ donor is still alive afterwards, and also the human embryo panel. So there are 2 very similar panels already set up, which this would then reflect, and also wouldn't clog up the courts, which was one of the worries with the High Court judge.
In terms of your mum, I think she's reached beyond the stage where this would be any help to her, unfortunately. So, therefore, have you had a conversation with her about what it is that she would like at her end of life. My friend passed recently, as viewers will know, and it was a conversation that we had with him in terms of what he wanted in terms of end of life and ceremony and burial and all that sort of thing. Is that a conversation that you guys have managed to have with her?
I'm so glad you brought this up. It's something that I feel passionately about. You know, choosing how you die, where you die, who with, and what happens afterwards. These are still really important discussions that we should have. And as a nation, I feel we're really awkward talking about death, that there are far more open nations out there who would actually discuss this as a family. Because the worst thing is that person's passed and you don't know what they wanted and you get the wrong song. So I thought she wanted this terrible number from West End.
Do you feel comfortable bringing it up with your mum?
I do, because she will tell me that it's not OK to talk about it.
So in other words, you feel like that, but your mum is not discussing it.
So she has discussed it with us. We've had this conversation over and over again. My dad, from the day I was born, told me what he wanted in his memorial service. We had car journeys, really long ones. We drove to France and Italy, and I knew everything about his memorial service. So when it happened, it felt very familiar. But Mum has done something similar. The problem that we have with, so Dad's death was very quick. Mum's death is a slow process. So it's weird to call it her death, but her diagnosis. And so sometimes she's not thinking about cancer. Sometimes she's not thinking about her illness. So to bring it up on that moment when she's been able to forget about it is the worst. So it has to come out of a natural conversation. When you know someone, you'll know when is the right time.
But what's interesting is she has spoken, hasn't she, about seeing your dad again.
Yes.
But actually, she's agnostic.
She is agnostic. So we're very surprised by this. I mean, she surprised us by joining Dignitas without telling us. And she surprised us by saying she was pregnant. Turned out it was a rhino and an April Fool joke. And now she's surprised us by saying that she's going to see Dad in heaven, which I would love. I just love that idea.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating that she doesn't want to talk about it, because my own experience was a bit different. I was married to somebody who, when we were married, was much older than me, would never talk about death and dying. And then after we were divorced, I had dinner with him, and he said, when I die, and he gave me over dinner, out of nowhere, a list of what he wanted at his funeral, and his other ex-wife was at the dinner too, and we were astonished. So suddenly, in the middle of a very jolly dinner, we've got a funeral organised, and we were, oh, don't be so miserable, don't be so awful. And you know what? He went out the next day, played golf, and never had a stroke, never regained consciousness.
Wow.
And it was almost like he had a premonition. But you know what? I was so grateful that we'd had that conversation, even though I was incredulous at the time. But I can see why Esther does not want to talk about it. She wants to focus on the lovely things, doesn't she?
And speaking of that, she's got a happy place at her home.
She really does. So she and my father bought this dilapidated farmhouse in the early 80s and have created a garden from basically cow manure. And it's beautiful. And they used, in the early days, Charlie Dimmock, before she was Charlie Dimmock. She obviously was Charlie Dimmock, but then she became and so it's got all these rooms, and I got married there. It means such a massive amount to us. And she moved into that in lockdown. And it's weird because it's in the New Forest. It's like Narnia. The animals roam free, and she's wandering around talking to birds like Snow White. I'm mixing my children's literature, but she's having it is a wonderful place. And every time I go and see her, there's a new thing to look at, and she's teaching me about this plant, and she's telling me that I need to look after the fish, and she has so many fish, and what to do, and I need to dig a pond, and I need to plant the artillery. But it's amazing.
Do you know what? I think she's lucky to have that. I think she's lucky to have you, and I think she's really lucky to have a family that supports her. And all of us who've lost someone know it's not the easiest thing in the world to sit on TV and talk about your mum when she's in this situation. So, Rebecca, we really do appreciate you coming in, so thank you.
Thank you.